that wasn't available for Whoopi Goldberg. And I thought that was really interesting because it was at a Holtzman's or something. And she wanted to get her Charlotte Russe dessert for her birthday, and it became a big issue of like, who will they do it for? I feel like it was staged and everyone was in on it. Like I wonder, because it's like there's too many messages here, and I'm wondering if you wanted me to go, it's okay. I'm wondering if they created something, you know, but we'll leave it at that. Just because, you know, great kills and this, that, and the other. Anyway, which side is better? This side. I can't believe how pretty this is. I love the winter. That's, you know, a huge winter fan. I feel energized often in the winter, oddly. I used to run with a front runners group, and I loved running in the winter and the snow and how beautiful it is. Sometimes I think about moving back to Florida. I was only there for 2.5 years. Not to Gainesville, but, you know, I go back and forth, but it's like the hot weather is too much for me. I really can't hack hot weather. So I experienced a lot of trauma, and in hot weather it's easier to be agitated. Like anger usually can spike more so in hot weather. This is something that came up as a topic of conversation with a friend of mine. To play, I might wait for Monday, but to play the song. Should I pull the phone out? Is it in my? We're walking in. It's from the Snowman, but I'll wait for Monday because I couldn't figure out how. I wasn't as planned because I didn't know when the snow would start, and I was walking around the city kind of waiting for it to start, and decided to go over to the schoolyards by the train station, which. By the way, our grandfather worked for the railroad company. He was a lineman, and it wasn't called Amtrak back then. I have to look at the paperwork, but other names that have come up are Conrail, Pennsylvania. It's sort of like the Pennsylvania Railroad, but in Delaware. Anyway, so it's kind of neat that the snow fell. I forgot what I was talking about there, but I thought of my grandfather because he had a scar in his stomach, according to my mom and aunt. He was a lineman for whatever railroad company it was back in the day. It became Amtrak after he retired. So he retired in the early 70s, and then it switched to Amtrak. And he was a lineman on call, and I guess there was a day, which meant that he shimmied up the poles to do stuff or whatever, I don't know. There was a day when someone didn't ground something perfectly, and I don't know if there was a loose wire or something like that, and it caused a scar on his stomach, like it kind of hit him or however that works. So I wanted to be able to write a story for like the Amtrak paper. I'm not high up enough as a writer. Like, I've actually been published with bylines, but you technically have to be like wealthier and get born into a wealthier situation than I was. So, and those people are more apt to get work, even with a publication at Amtrak. I can keep trying just to see, and maybe they'll give me a little piece, but I'd have to kind of have to hound them and be a pain. So, and it's a lot of work for little money. Like, you know, that's a pretty good byline to get into Amtrak. But writers, you know, they put a lot of effort into stuff, and then they have to wait to get paid. So, and it's like, well, we pay upon publication, deadline this, deadline that, you know, it takes, you could wait up to 6 months just to get paid. You're like, you'd have to line up like 2 years worth of work to feel any sense of security. And it's hard to do, especially if you're an unknown and from an unknown family, like, you know, I'll try again. So, during a desperate time period, I kept pitching. This is 2018 and 19, just to see. I was like, anything, but nothing was coming through. This is prior to the pandemic. So walking east here on Market Street and headed towards, what, 19th?
Yeah, that's why I said, no,
of course, City Hall is all the way down on 14th. Independence Blue Cross. And they have the big, neat, you know, signage and the sitting area and the like boardwalk-ish wooden. It seems like it's tapering here. Let's see. They said at best a coating. In Philly, they said less than an, you know, inch, like barely anything. In Delaware, like Wilmington, they could get like an inch to 2 if they're lucky. Some Cheerios here. Georgia, Alberta, the female mascot for University of Florida, the alligators, you know, they have Albert and Alberta. My mom loved them. She and my aunt in their older age would go to the women's basketball and volleyball tournaments at the University of Florida. They loved it as seniors, and I'm happy that my mom got to enjoy something in her older age. You know, they used to do the chomp chomp. You know, you sort of bring your elbows together and your hands into your opposite shoulders and create like an alligator shape. And you do the chomp chomp, and my mom would love doing that. So I was excited to see her enjoying herself at these things. So, like, that's good, because she finally got to retire. She had to technically work post-retirement for a while at Sam's Club just to make things ends meet. Sadly, I felt bad for her. She said she liked it, but I was like, I was angry that she had to do it. You know, I wanted more for my mom. She deserved a lot more. So, a food sample lady. And I wished I could have done more, but I actually believe at this point in time that our family was targeted. I actually believe in a different way than it's a whole thing. You know, so a single mom and her 2 daughters were incredibly oppressed and cast aside. Anyway, but she finally got to